Am I the idiot for refusing to take my girls to meet their grandparents on their father's side? I, female 23, and my husband, male 26, have been arguing over this since my oldest was born, male 20, and then I have a 2M. I want to be totally clear that his parents haven't done anything wrong and they're not bad people. The issue is they live 26 hours away. They have never met either of their grandchildren, and I have only met his mom and sister when I was pregnant with our first and met up halfway. So they are basically strangers to me as well as complete strangers to the girls. Yet my husband is really pushing to take the trip since he hasn't seen his family in 5 years. My refusal comes in with the logistics of it all. Our girls are really big grandmas and papas. Girls on my side they always have been, and since we are temporarily living with my parents, as we wait for our new place the girls are bonding even more to them. So that would be like ripping them away from all they ever knew and putting them into unknown territory with a bunch of strangers that are going to try hugging, kissing, holding them, and I know that would make them uncomfortable, and it would bother me too. I don't want anyone's blood or not to cross my girls' boundaries. Beyond that trip, anyone who has ever had to ride in a car with a toddler or a baby knows that would be constantly stopping upset babies and just plain frustrating for 26 hours. That's just a really long time to have them in car seats too. I've also entertained the idea of a plane, but handling 2 little ones on a small cramped plane with people who don't want to hear them seems so great. I can't do the plane though. I have extremely sensitive ears due to a hole in my eardrums after having tubes as a kid till 18. Even if we got through the traveling part, then comes sleep schedules, they'd be all messed up, and I don't like sleeping in random places, so why would the girls? With all this in mind, I just had another disagreement with the hubby about it again after he brought up compromises, one being we meet one halfway again on a 13-hour trip, and another being we stay the summer again. They'll miss my parents that have been with them their whole life. Plus he's an over-the-road trucker. He's only home 1 week out of a month or a month and a half, so the majority of childcare is me. He'll get to leave and have me deal with sleep schedule, and I can't see my gram or papa meltdowns that she has now, and we live with them at the moment. All of that would be on me in some stranger's home. He says, and I quote, "So what, the girls will get it over it?" My response was, "So will your family." Also, I want to point out that I have told him I'm totally fine with him going down there by himself, but he doesn't want to go alone. So with all this in mind, I want to clarify some things. The first being that I have offered to host their grandparents over the last 2 years in our old place, and have offered to host once we settle in our new place. They have never taken the offer. 2, I have offered it so that the babies would at least start to recognize their voices and faces, but they haven't taken that offer either. So this is basically one-sided relationship on our end to them. 3, my husband wants us to go down for the whole summer, but he would only be there 2 to 3 weeks out of 2 to 3 months because the only way to afford this would be for him to work. I have offered to do 1 week, but he got offended saying 1 week wasn't enough, so my next offer was 1 week altogether, and the next month he could take his week alone, which he didn't like either. Whitey, the kids will not love your parents less if they develop a relationship with the rest of their grandparents. The travel excuse is just that, an excuse. You are completely disregarding the feelings of everyone that did not give birth to you. Do better. You're the idiot. Of course your husband wants to show his children off to his family. Kids are very adaptable. When my daughters were 1 and 2 years old, we drove 36 hours to go see family. We made a game out of it for the kids. Experiencing new things is part of learning. Now for the next story. Am I the idiot for working a shift during my daughter's birthday? I, male 42, am a registered nurse. My wife, female 41, and I have a daughter who turned 8 today, and we decided to throw a party for her. Despite me working full-time at a hospital and part-time at an aesthetics clinic, our finances are such that we are always late on the mortgage because of our other expenses. Mainly because my wife has a career as an equestrian, and her expenses for that career set up back around $38,000 a year. Add that to our house in a gated community close to the stables where they keep my wife's horse, and our student loans, shopping, golf, etc. We are always behind on our mortgage. So I was shocked to find out that the day after we were denied a very small loan, as well as a credit card that caters to people with bad credits, that my wife paid an extra $550 for a better party photographer. We could not get the deposit for the other one back. In the days leading up to the party, I was losing sleep over our finances. Pulling doubles has become my norm, but I'm usually off Saturdays. However, I have a reputation as being the one who will pick up any shift on short notice, so much so that my coworkers resent me because management asks why they cannot be like me. So a coworker got sick last minute, and I was told Friday night that they needed somebody for all of Saturday, offering a 12-hour shift. I knew my daughter's party was today, but I knew I would have spent the whole party sweating about the fact that we cannot pay our mortgage. So I decided to pick up that shift. When my wife found out I was going to work at 7 a.m. and not going to be home until evening, she was furious and accused me of being a bad father. She has not talked to me since. Am I the idiot for trying to pay bills? Everyone sucks here. Y'all need to reconsider your financial decisions. A career that loses you $38,000 a year is not a career. Y'all need to have a come to Jesus moment and talk about your finances realistically. Edit to add, in another comment Opie says it's a net loss as though that makes it better. I don't care if she's grossing over $1 million. The fact this career is costing you money and meaning you work 2 jobs, it's not sustainable. Not the idiot for picking up a shift to cover expenses, but you and your wife are. You're the idiot for ending up in a financial situation like this with a kid. Seriously, you guys need to have a discussion about your finances if this is a situation. Like, I don't fully understand equestrian, but if she is spending $38K a year and not making income, that's not a career, that's a freaking hobby. Now for the next story. Am I the idiot for giving my 18 years old an ultimatum to continue living here? My husband, male 41, and I, female 36, have 5 kids aged 3 through 18. I recently had surgery which left me with many restrictions for several weeks. 18 decided to go spend the first week with their bio mom, even after having agreed to help me and being told what that entailed: housework, nothing medical or hygienic. 17 agreed to help as well, but they're not able to do everything by themselves either. During this week, 18 missed several days of work for various reasons, then messaged me saying they were going back to BM's after the one day they did go to work. H and I talked, then I told 18 that should they do that, they were to come to the house first, gather their clothing, and leave their phone on our plan, and everything else, as they are showing they are wishing to not be part of this household due to willfully neglecting their responsibilities. I explained that we are not evicting them, merely outlining what is expected and what their other option was at that time. Yes, I know it should have been H's responsibility to have this conversation, but they don't always see eye to eye, and it may have led to a fight where 18 did leave. They came home that night, then cleaned one counter the following day after being asked to help with the kitchen. As expected, there was a lot of attitude and grumbling. I explained that we don't want them to leave. We love them and want them to have a stable home until they're ready to go. We have tried to guide them gently and easily, but that hasn't proven to work, so it's time for tough love. H and I told them that even if they choose to leave, they will have our support in everything they do, just not financially. While we have good jobs for our area, we cannot afford to keep paying for an adult who doesn't wish to participate in the household. Unfortunately, the extreme lack of reliability to do chores by myself, health issues that surgery hopefully corrected, and the oldest 2, refusal to help except for random bouts of generosity on their parts, has taught the younger ones that they don't need to help either. We're working on getting everyone on track. H has been the one to pick up all the slack and it's wearing him down. I do want to say that I am 18 and I usually get along wonderfully. 18 has told me on multiple occasions that BM wants them to move in with them, so if they left here, they do technically have somewhere to go. We're just leery because BM is basically 2 steps above needing to live in a group home setting. I just don't know if I did the right thing by laying out clear expectations for them to stay, or if I should have just let them continue on as they have been and keep silent. You're the idiot. I'm confused by all the mixed signals. Were they failing in expectation to help as a special arrangement because of your surgery or as a normal household contribution? Were you angry because they missed some days of their paid job work or because they weren't at your house doing the housework? Did you tell them to leave because they did come home sufficiently but didn't help enough? Or because although they did wipe the counter but hadn't been home enough? And what was the relation between the location of residence versus providing financial support? If your 18 is half as confused as I am, they are probably very confused. I'm okay with parents giving an ultimatum of do X or leave, but it's very unclear what X is supposed to be. You're the idiot. I don't understand why you are trying to exercise this level of control over this kid. If they are at their mom's house, they aren't there messing up your home. Then you tell them to get their stuff and leave the phone? Then you are mad because all they did was wipe the counter? Honestly, you sound like a damn nightmare. Now for the next story. Am I the idiot for asking my friend about why I was not invited for a holiday dinner? To set up the context, I am a graduate student in a small department. During Thanksgiving, I invited my classmates who stayed in town over for dinner, including one classmate who I will refer to as Kara. For reference, another classmate, Brenda, was also in town but did not join for Thanksgiving. Fast forward a few months later, I heard Kara, Brenda, and another classmate, Darren, were arranging a holiday dinner for the New Year's. I asked Kara if I could join, and Kara said sure but would have to check with Brenda and Darren first. A few days pass. I hear back from Kara saying that Darren had changed plans and was going back to visit their family. Since Darren was leaving, Brenda and Kara decided to do a girls' night instead. This happened the day before the scheduled dinner. I was disappointed, especially since I had already purchased some food to bring for the dinner, but did not challenge their decision. Then a month later, I heard from Brenda that Brenda, Kara, Darren, and 2 additional classmates had a New Year's dinner. Confused about this situation, I asked Kara a few days later to clarify what happened during New Year's. Kara told me that she and Brenda had a girls' night, and then the following week, Brenda arranged dinner with the rest of the classmates. What irritated me was that Brenda had referred to this dinner as a New Year's dinner, so in my mind it seemed like they had simply moved the original plans without letting me know. I mentioned to Kara that I felt excluded, especially since most of my classmates were invited. A few days later, another classmate, Edgar, who did not attend any of the outings, wrote a public post telling everyone to mind their own business and not to make other people uncomfortable. I confronted Edgar about their post privately, saying they shouldn't make blanket statements. Edgar told me that Kara had told him that I had made her uncomfortable by asking about the dinner. To summarize, am I the idiot? Asked my friend to clarify what happened. I understand that people are entitled to do whatever social activities with whomever they want and accept that. But I felt particularly hurt by Edgar making a public statement, especially as they were not involved with any of the events. Edit. For extra background, Kara and Darren had asked me if I would celebrate the New Year. Initially, I said I was agnostic towards the holiday, but I took it as a soft invite and asked Kara to join a couple of days later. The actual dinner that took place a week after ended up being hosted and organized by Brenda, although to what degree Kara, Darren, or anyone else was involved in its planning I do not know, as I did not ask further. Edit 2. New Year's is specifically Chinese New Year's here. The graduate group is a mix of Americans and internationals who are mostly from Asia. Edit 3. To be clear, I did not know that the 2 events, the girls' night and the dinner, were separate until I spoke with Kara. I was confused and had asked because it sounded like they were the same event. Edit 4. Edgar's post was an undirected message telling people to mind their own business and to not make up problems that don't exist, although I confirmed with him privately that the message was directed at me. Kara's response included a bit saying all of us are friends and to not worry about it, but she did not mention specifically why some people were not invited. Edit 5. Thanks everyone for your input. Seems like the main takeaway is that there is a fairly strong norm on not asking to join others' planned activities. For some disclosure, most of my social interactions were online during the pandemic, where the logistical considerations are different. My online friend groups definitely have a invite yourself norm, and we ran into the opposite problem until everyone got on the same page. I also get that real life and online activities are different. To be honest, I am typically very hesitant to ask to join other people's activities to begin with, even in the online setting, but I also have never been bothered by others asking to join my plans. Kara had also invited someone she had met just a few days prior to my Thanksgiving dinner without consulting me first, but I did not have any problems with it. So I think maybe part of that made me more comfortable with asking her to include me for New Year's. I also realized that I have been imposing a double standard on myself. I often feel compelled to open up my own planned social activities to include more of my classmates even when it was originally intended as a smaller outing, and I think this leads to a feeling of, why am I always including everyone, but folks aren't including me? Again, I am fine with small private outings, but I tend to perceive holidays as generally being more inclusive. Lastly, I don't think it is as extreme as saying they have a direct problem with me. There have been other occasions where Kara and Brenda have invited me, and where they have accepted my invitations since the Chinese New Year's dinner. My main gripe was Edgar making a public post instead of sending me a private message. Edit 6. It might have been a cultural difference too. I think I might just not have been perceived as Asian enough for their considerations during their planning. Not the idiot. Also, they're not your friends. I wouldn't ask people that are relatively new in my life. I would just cut them out. I have a long-term friend, since childhood, and I'm 40, who out of the blue somehow ghosted me. This is the type of event that I would ask what's going on. And I did. It turned out he has some problems, but not with me, anyway. You're the idiot. You were not invited ever. Not once were you invited. For a graduate student. You don't know social cues, do you? So let me help. If you are not explicitly invited, given a direct invite, then you are not invited. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day. Am I the idiot for embarrassing my father by offering to stop telling my children that I love them? I call my kids boy, 15, and girl, 16. I love The Simpsons, and I always thought it was funny that Homer referred to Bart as boy and Bart called him Homer. With my father, everything was yes or no, sir. I also constantly tell my kids that I love them and am proud of them. For some reason, the name thing puts a wild hair up my dad's ass. He was over last weekend and he was vociferous about how I'm hurting his grandchildren by not calling them by their names. I told him that my kids were happy and to leave it alone. He just wouldn't drop it. So I called my kids over to where we were talking and I asked them if they wanted to be called by their names instead of boy and girl. I said in return they would have to call me sir, not daddy or dad. I said I would accept father in emotional conversations, but that I would no longer remind them every day that I loved them and was proud of them. They both were happy with the status quo. They know what my relationship with my father is like. My father got all pissed off and said that's not what he wanted at all. So I asked him how often he told my sisters and I he loved us or was proud of our accomplishments, or just as people. He said it was a different time, that his father was worse than him. So I asked him if he thought my kids were happier than myself and my sisters were growing up. I pointed out that my kids are happy. They are reasonably well adjusted. Now he is being pissy and my mom says he is upset that I think he was a bad father. He wasn't. He was just emotionally distant. I hated it. My sisters both had some therapy to help them choose better men. They both fell in love with any guy who gave them attention. My daughter knows her worth and won't settle for anything but the best. My son has no problem hugging me and telling me or his mom about his life. They are teens. I know I don't know everything going on with them, but I'm doing my best to be there and give them the support I never had. My kids know they are loved. I don't just say it. I try my best to show it. My dad thinks I'm being an idiot for pointing out where he didn't do great as a father when he tried to criticize my parenting. You're totally not the idiot for that interaction with your father. Where you might be in dicey territory is the parenting choice of using your children as props, and threatening, even in jest, to withhold affection. It sounds like you have a healthy parental bond, and your kids are old enough and know you weren't serious. But if they had any ambiguity about that, then you'd be an AH for causing it just to illustrate a point to your father. Everyone sucks here. The whole comment about you calling them by their names means they have to call you sir instead of dad. Sorry, but no. If your kids are generally happy with what you call them, then fine. But to expect to be called sir? Hell no. You are their dad, they can call you dad. You dad sounds like an arise no matter what. Now for the next story. Am I the idiot for confronting my husband about his sudden changes around the house? I, female 40, have a habit of taking my two kids, 8F, and male 10, to visit my family in a suburban area close to the city we live in during the 1-week break they get at the end of their first semester each year at school. We've been doing that for as long as I can remember. This all started 3 years ago when my kids and I came back from my family's. My husband insisted he had a surprise for me and that I would absolutely love it. Once I entered our living room, I discovered he had painted the walls a hideous shade of pink, almost peach but still mildly striking. I hated it. For context, we own a house far away from the city center to which we go to during weekend and in which I gave him full liberty to do his arts and crafts considering how much he loves doing these things. The apartment I came back to, though, is closer to our jobs and the children's schools, so we stay there during the week. I acted as if I liked the change and that it's refreshing to the living room that I had previously decorated in muted and monochromatic colors, but that these kinds of decisions should have been discussed prior. He agreed and we moved on. The next year, however, while driving back home from my parents, my husband called and informed me that he had yet another surprise for the kids and I, and that it involved our balcony. I loved our balcony, it was my safe place. I kept plants in there and spent all of my alone time in it, and so I was irritated at the thought of it changing without my knowledge. My husband decided to remove the demi-wall I hung my plants on and replaced it with a green metal grid and put plexiglass on the top area so the balcony was completely closed now. He also disposed of all my plants that I've grown particularly fond of. I was livid to say the least, but kept it together in front of the kids and just went to bed since I was already tired. I figured I could just get new plants and not make a big deal out of the situation since my husband seemed happy about it. The next morning at breakfast, a silly argument started between us, and my husband started stating all the things I do that he hates, and so I blew up and told him every single refreshment he'd done is hideous to me and that he has no taste in home decor and should stop believing he does. He got mad, stormed off, and is now giving me the silent treatment. Am I the AH for saying what was on my mind? Not the idiot. Why is nobody commenting on how malicious and controlling the husband's behavior is? He purposely destroyed her decorating in the living room and then threw out all her plants and closed in her favorite place in the house. He's trashing everything she likes. The husband is purposely doing this, and then when Opie objected, he had a list of complaints about her just ready to go. Not the idiot. Painting is one thing, it can be painted over. Your husband definitely shouldn't have thrown away your plants. If he knows the balcony is your space, then yeah, he should have talked to you before he did anything. He should have talked to you about changes before he tried to do any. The house is owned by both of you, so I do believe a discussion should have happened before he did anything. Now for the next story. Am I the idiot for not letting my friends stay over at my house when they travel to visit and refusing to pay for their hotel? I, female 25, have friends, a couple, that moved a while back to another state because of college and decided to stay there even after graduating. We keep contact via texting and video calls, but we've never seen each other face to face since they moved. They decided to travel to the city I live in so we can spend time together. We had all chosen a lot of things to do in the 2 weeks they're supposed to spend here. The conflict is that I don't want them to stay at my apartment, like sleep there overnight, while they're here, but they don't have family or other friends in this state or close by that they can stay with, which means they'd have to pay for a hotel. A day ago, when they arrived, we were talking and I asked them which hotel they picked. They were confused, and Anna, female 26, asked what I meant. They thought they were going to stay at my apartment with me. We hadn't discussed where they would stay before they came here, and I assumed they knew they were going to stay at a hotel since they have never stayed at my home like that, and they know I don't let anyone stay over like that. Not even my parents or my boyfriend. They said they thought I had changed my mind about these things, but I never said I had, they just assumed I did. I live in an apartment alone, and even though there isn't a guest room, I have my old mattress that I could put on the living room or on my hobby's room, or they could sleep on the couch. But I refuse to do so and to pay or help pay for the hotel. They're both very annoyed with me and think I'm being selfish, but James, male 25, is furious. He thinks I am being ridiculous. Anna accepted to pay, but James wants to either go back or make me let them stay in my apartment. They're staying at a hotel at the moment, and we didn't do what we planned to do yesterday. Anna texted me that she's trying to convince James to stay in the hotel, and maybe she will, but nonetheless they both think I should change my mind. The reason I don't want them, or anyone, to stay over is because it makes me very uncomfortable to have someone in my home while I am asleep or not there. I hate the idea of someone touching my things without my permission or seeing something I'd rather they not see, or even stealing something. And they know that, but thought I had become more lenient about it. I asked my parents and other friends what they think, and the general consensus is that it would be nice of me to let them stay, but since I am known to be quite neurotic between our friends and family, and it's not like I told them I changed my view nor implied they would stay, I wouldn't be in the wrong if I don't allow it. Everyone sucks here. I am amazed an adult would go on a 2-week trip without confirming arrangements. This is not something that should be assumed. That's nutty behavior indeed. But if you suspected that they might want to stay at yours, you should have asked the hotel before they arrived. I find it nearly improbable that you made all these plans and never had a clue they figured they would stay at yours. Everyone sucks here. Everyone involved made assumptions about a major aspect of this entire trip without talking about it. Yes, you're not obligated to let them stay with you, and they aren't entitled to stay there, but would it really be so bad to put a mattress down when you literally can to do a favor for your friends who traveled to see you? If so, then don't do it, but I don't think your friendship will be the same after this. Based on James, he might say this is the end of the friendship. Now for the next story. Am I the idiot for refusing to pay my friend back after destroying his property in an accident? I recently got into a huge argument with my friend, and I'm not sure if I'm the idiot or not. Here's what happened. a few days ago, my friend invited me over to his place for a small gathering with a few other friends. We were having a great time, but things took a turn for the worse when I accidentally knocked over a valuable antique vase that belonged to my friend's family. It shattered into pieces, and I could tell it was something of great sentimental value to him. Now, here's where the conflict arises. I immediately apologized profusely and acknowledged my mistake. My friend was understandably upset and demanded that I reimburse him for the vase, which he estimated to be worth a substantial amount of money. While I do feel bad about what happened, I flat out refused to pay him anything. My reasoning behind this decision is that accidents happen, and I believe it's unfair for him to ask me to cover the entire cost of the vase. I argued that it was his responsibility to safeguard his valuable possessions, especially during a gathering where accidents are more likely to occur. I also mentioned that I couldn't afford to pay such a significant amount. Since then, our friendship has been strained, and some of our mutual friends are telling me that I'm being unreasonable and that I should take responsibility for my actions. They believe I should reimburse him fully or at least offer to contribute toward the cost of the vase. However, I still feel like I'm not in the wrong here. So, am I the idiot? I need your judgment. Am I the idiot for refusing to pay my friend back for the antique vase that I accidentally broke? Should I reconsider my stance and try to make amends? I'm open to hearing your perspectives on this situation. TLDR. Accidentally broke my friend's valuable antique vase during a gathering, but I refused to pay for it because I believe accidents happen and he should have taken better care of his belongings. Now our friendship is strained, and I'm wondering if I'm the idiot in this situation. Update. I forgot to mention the cost of the vase. A friend told me it is around $3,000 $4,000 Update 2. Lots of people are asking me for more details on where the vase was, how I knocked it over and such. Basically, the vase was on top of this very tall cupboard in the living room. We were all drinking, some drunker than others. I was just tipsy, and I was chatting with another friend next to the cupboard, and I wanted to kinda lean into it and stuff, but I sort of slipped and instead ended up straight up bumping into it. Afterwards the vase just falls and breaks. I had no idea it was up there or how much it was worth. Friend never mentioned it until it broke and my breakup happened. Huge update. Most of you suggested waiting a few days for both of us to cool down before I contact him. I failed to do that, and most of you said I should ask for proof of the value. So I did. I asked him to provide proof. He instead got really defensive and deflective, saying poop like, "You don't trust me? I am your best friend, and you ask for proof?" And anytime I would return to asking for proof, he would always just comment like that, never giving me a no or yes. So I let it go, and spoke to my brother. He suggested that truly the best way to find out if he is legit is to ask someone from his family, supposedly the people who this vase is really important to. And oh boy, oh freaking boy. I contacted his brother and said, "Hey, you know that vase your family passed to X?" His reply, "What? LMAO, what you on about?" So I told him what happened, about my accident, and that I know they really care about it, but does he know if the family ever insured the vase and how much it is truly worth? "I have no idea what you are talking about. We don't have a vase. We don't even have any heirlooms, not our family's thing." Well, now I am kind of really pissed at my friend for trying to do that to me. No idea if it's actually an expensive vase. My friend is quite wealthy, so he could have gotten it for a big price. But considering he lied about it belonging to the family and having sentimental value to all of them, I highly doubt it. Update 4. I have taken all of your comments close to heart, and I realize that I am indeed a huge AH for flat out refusing to do a thing to fix the damage I did, and instead I shifted the blame on him. I am not a good friend at all, and thank you all for pointing that out. Uneasy face. I am going to wait a little bit to let him cool down. In the meanwhile, I will check and find out where I could get a loan, and then when he is ready to talk and calm, I will do my best to pay back as best as I can. From his reaction, it's clear that even if he did lie, that vase meant a lot to him. I will ask him about the lie. I am sure it's harmless, and then try to mend things. I don't want to lose a best friend over my selfishness and a king vase. You're the idiot, you broke it. Your friend shouldn't be out of pocket for your mistake. If the vase really was of significant value, then I would expect him to be claiming on his insurance for the cost and for you to be paying the excess/deductible and any other costs incurred. You messed up, you fix it. If you did this to me, I'd straight be done with you as a friend. You're the idiot. Accidents do happen, but the fact that it was an accident doesn't absolve you of trying to make amends. I may accidentally rear-end someone while driving. These are hardly ever intentional, but I'm still required to pay for the damages. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Am I the idiot for installing and wanting to keep a bidet even though my wife doesn't want it? Last week I convinced my wife to get a bidet. I ended up splurging on a nice one from Costco that comes with a heated seat too. I love it, but my wife tried it a few times and she doesn't like it. She wanted me to remove the bidet. I don't see why I should, since it's basically a regular toilet with the bidet settings off. She says that the seat is now too high and that it feels weird to lean back on it, but I don't really see the difference. I really like this bidet and it's been a real game changer for me. So now, she's insisting that I move the bidet and all my stuff to the guest bathroom and use that instead. But I don't want to do that either, since wouldn't it just make more sense for her to use the toilet in that room? Plus it's a real hassle to uninstall and reinstall the bidet. But she says that it's my bidet, so it's my problem. We live in a one-story home and our bathrooms are literally around the hall from one another. The only difference is that the bidet bathroom is really close to the bedroom. Wife has been pretty miffed and complains every time she uses the bidet bathroom now. Is there something I'm missing here? Am I the idiot? Edit. Well, I talked it over with my wife and it turns out the woman I've been living with is a freak. We had a serious conversation about it over lunch, and the reason why she dislikes it isn't the height, but rather the fact that the bidet material does not get as cold as the cold toilet seat. She likes cold toilet seats, for some reason, and I guess she was just nitpicking the back of the toilet and the height to not admit that. Anyway, I've followed what some commenters said and asked her if she's willing to adjust the bidet settings and try it out for another week or two before I move it, and she's agreed. Hopefully our asses will be clean. P.S. I do consider myself taller than my wife, but we measured our legs for fun and it turns out that her legs are actually slightly longer than mine. Crazy that we've just now known that after these years. You're the idiot. It may be a TMI question, but how often do you poop? Not interested in your bowel health, but the fact that women have to sit down to pee and poop. You just sit down to poop, I assume. So you expect her to be uncomfortable 100% of the time so you can use the bidet 20% of the time? Just move it. You're the idiot. You are being selfish. You lowered her comfort level to raise yours. You changed the status quo and created the problem. You are the one who should have a guest bathroom. I suppose you use the bidet function only for number 2, right? On average once a day? She sits down every single time. As a fairly short woman, I absolutely understand the hassle. Plus, having a bathroom closer to the bedroom is more convenient during periods. I'm not going into details. Now for the next story. Am I the idiot for giving my niece a present at her sister's birthday party? I have 2 nieces, K7 and L3. K recently celebrated her birthday, and her mom, my sister, threw her a birthday party. I don't live in their area, so I rarely visit unless it's a special occasion, and K's birthday was one. I brought K 2 wrapped presents which I gave her at her party. After she ran off to play, I took out another unwrapped present for her sister L. It was a smaller toy and she immediately started to play with it. Kay came back and grabbed it from Elle thinking she stole one of her presents, but I explained to her that I bought it for her sister. In response, Kay took her birthday crown off her head, threw it away, then ran away crying. She told my sister that I gave Elle her present even though it was her birthday. My sister asked what happened and I explained, but she got angry at me for giving Elle a present in the first place. She said the day was about Kay, so anything I had for Elle I should have kept it until later. In my defense, I was leaving early in the morning and I didn't want to forget about it. She then instructed me to take the toy from Elle and give it to her so she would stop crying since it was her birthday, and she would be taking pictures cutting her cake soon. I refused since 1, the toy wasn't in the suitable age range for a 7-year-old. It was one of those squeaky baby plushies. 2, it belonged to Elle and Kay had 2 gifts from me and many more from others. However, she insisted it was the best option and that she would give Elle a new toy tomorrow. During the party, I had to take Elle upstairs to console her since she was crying after having her toy taken away, and I felt bad because I only wanted both of them to be happy, but I ended up making both my nieces cry. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. You didn't make your nieces cry, your sister did. A 3-year-old might not understand the concept of a birthday gift being given to one person and not another, but the older sibling can certainly be made to understand why their baby sister was given a baby's toy to not feel left out. This is a parenting fail, not an anti-fail. Your sister should have handled that herself instead of asking you to take a toy away from a small child and then blaming you for the kid being upset. Not the idiot. I have family who live in a different town, and I do the same thing. I have family who do it for my kids too. Thank God my children and nieces and nephews are nice people. My kid just had her 5th birthday and got 2 $50 bills just for her, and straight up gave one to her sister, and her sister does the same thing at her birthday, and it's the sweetest LOL. We also have family friends who live close but will literally buy and wrap a present for both kids on both birthdays, haha, just cause they love spoiling our kids. Your niece's reaction was a bit yikes, haha. I would be stern talking to my daughter if she behaved like that about something so small. Now for the next story. Am I the idiot for letting my daughter have a peanut butter cake when my nephew is allergic? So my daughter recently turned 7, and for our family part, she asked for a peanut butter and chocolate cake. I agreed. I let my sister know not to bring my nephew 3 because of his allergy. It's so bad that he can't even be near/breathe in peanut butter particles. She asked if I would change the cake to be just chocolate so that my nephew could come. I said no, that it was my daughter's cake and she can have peanut butter if she wants. She called me unreasonable because my daughter could have had peanut butter cake with her friend party. She didn't have cake with her friends, she just had pizza. She said that my daughter needs to learn to compromise for the sake of family. I told her that I would talk to my daughter, but not to expect a 7-year-old to choose her baby cousin over her favorite cake. My conversation with my daughter played out just like I predicted, and when I told my sister, she called my daughter selfish and ungrateful. She said that I'm a bad parent because I taught her to hate nephew. She threatened that if my nephew wasn't welcome, then neither she nor her husband would come either. I said that was fine, because she wasn't welcome either. I then reached out to my brother-in-law to let him know what was going on, and to tell him he was still welcome if he wanted to come. He thanked me, but said that he would stay home to support my sister. Her party came and went, and my sister is still very distant and cold. This has me wondering if I was too harsh to her and my nephew, or too soft on my daughter. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your 3-year-old nephew won't comprehend or care about missing a party. Our sister, on the other hand, maybe she doesn't want to say she's heard about missing out on your daughter's party, but definitely tried to make it all about her by saying your 7-year-old was selfish for wanting the cake she wanted. Everyone sucks here. You had 2 parties and chose to give your kid the cake that could literally kill her baby cousin at the party specifically for the family? She was a prick for her comments, I agree, but you were being a nincompoop yourself. We teach empathy to little kids. Little Johnny has a bad allergy that can make him sick or even kill him if he's near peanuts. Since we love him and want him to be safe, we'll have that peanut butter cake at the friend's party. 2 cakes, yum! What other flavor should we have at the family party? That's all it takes. Now for the next story. Am I the idiot for wearing my hijab to a wedding? Alright, so, if 24, have been friends with my friend Clara, 25, female, since I moved to the US at the age of 7. We've had our ups and downs as all friendships have, but we always make up in the end. Well, when she announced that she was getting married, she asked me to be one of her bridesmaids, and I of course said yes because we're good friends and I wanted to support her. We went out to go dress shopping for her wedding dress and the bridesmaids' wedding dresses. We eventually found some nice dresses for the bridesmaids. They were pink dresses that looked stunning and mine was modest enough that I felt comfortable with it. Now jump to the day of the wedding. We all show up as soon as the bride sees me, though she pulls me off to the side and asks why I decided to wear my red hijab to the wedding, as you're not supposed to wear red at weddings. I told her that this was the closest hijab that I had that would match with the dress, as I'm not going to wear a black hijab or a white one, as you aren't supposed to wear white at a wedding either. She told me that she would have preferred me wear a black hijab than red, even though the red matched better. She then told me that I should have just bought a pink one to match with the dress. Now I have to say that I'm not necessarily a fan of pink, but I was wearing it for the wedding because I do it for a friend, but I wasn't going to spend any on a new hijab that I'd probably only wear once and then have it sit around. I told Clara this, but she was still insistent that I should have bought a pink one or worn a black hijab instead. She said I didn't ruin her special day, but she was cold to me for the rest of the wedding and reception because of it. So I'm just curious about, am I the idiot for wearing my red hijab instead of wearing a black one or buying a pink one? Edit. So I had worn the red hijab while dress shopping, and I had made several comments about dresses matching the color of the hijab, and some of the other bridesmaids agreed along with the bride herself, but I didn't explicitly state I was going to wear it. Also, apologies for not putting red as I messed up. I did not intend to try and be misleading. Edit 2. The red wasn't fire engine red, it was a light coral, so on the lower end of the red spectrum but still red. The bride wasn't mad that the colors clashed. She was mad about the apparent rule of if you wear red it means you slept with the groom, which I had no idea existed. You're the idiot for not purchasing a hijab to match your bridesmaid dress. Part of being a bridesmaid is wearing specific attire designated by the bride. You should have been accommodating and bought a hijab to at least match your dress. Everyone sucks here. The communication here was lacking. Bride knew you were wearing a hijab and should have conveyed color preference. You knew you didn't have a pink hijab and should have asked the bride for opinions. This isn't about wearing a hijab to a wedding but is about the lack of communication between friends. Now for the next story. Am I the idiot for moving up running times to prevent my sister from coming along? I 17M have been taking my brother 15M along with me for runs. We tend to go at 6:30 in the morning, and it's been really relaxing. My brother and I have also got along much better as a result, and I've gotten to know my brother a lot better. The problem is, my younger sister, female 13, wants to join as well. But she's an absolute brat in terms of personality. She always snitches on my brother and she's treated like the golden child by our parents. She's also really annoying and has low tolerance and patience for anything difficult. Plus, I don't want to have to babysit a kid and run at the same time. My sister started waking up at 6:30 to try and catch us, and she would usually involve our parents, so for about a week, she came running with us. It was pretty bad. She didn't know anything about proper pacing, or running forms/mechanics, and didn't really know how to expand the least amount of energy with foot placement. She would get mad at us for running for so long, and would get annoyed if we talked, since it disturbed her rhythm. I finally got tired of this, and told my brother that we'll start early. For the next couple of weeks, we left at 4:30ish, and just told our sister that we didn't want to run anymore, so she stopped waking up at 6:30. But now my brother's feeling bad, and saying that maybe we shouldn't have lied, we should have told her up front she's not welcome, but I didn't really want to have that kind of conversation. No idiots here. I am old, so I may be out of date about teen stuff. Sorry if this is silly in today's world. If she is trying to be a part of your world, you might be able to find an activity that you can tolerate, and would make her feel special. She may be a bratty golden child because as the only girl, she is always left out of bro stuff. So parents overcompensate. Could you bear a trip to the mall or ice cream/coffee shop? A pleasant round of video games in which you handicap yourself to make it fun and fair? Maybe give it a shot a few times and see if her brat level improves and you find out she is possibly a decent little sister. Not the idiot. You're a kid. This isn't your job. This is something your parents should be handling. But I see they're not doing a bang-up job. Think though, what would be accomplished by telling her you don't want her there? How will that go down? Oh geez, you think I'm a snitch and a brat? Wow, thanks for telling me. I'll do some introspection and change my way of thinking. No. It's going to be a knockdown, drag-out, screaming fest that will get nothing done other than ruining your run again. I'm sorry your parents refused to, parent and handle this. Now for the next story. Am I the idiot for refusing to go to my little sister's high school graduation? I, female 24, and the oldest of three sisters, female 23 and 17F. My middle sister has extreme disabilities that required pretty much all of my parents' attention as a kid. Time, money, and any extra resources were all given to my middle sister so that she could have doctors, tutors, a special school, etc. From the age of 5 I was pretty much left to raise myself, and when my youngest sister was born, I pretty much raised her too. I struggled a lot in high school as I also have a mild version of my sister's disability, but it was ignored since hers was much more severe. My parents did not help me at all. They ignored my concerns about my grades, rejected my request for a tutor, and did not seem to care at all that I was pretty much failing. I didn't even have time to study on my own as much of my life at home revolved around taking care of my sisters. I managed to graduate and immediately took a retail job that I am still at today. My youngest sister graduates this weekend and my parents asked me to attend. The thought literally makes me want to throw up. By the time my youngest sister hit high school, my middle sister no longer lived at home, and she was on state benefits. That meant my parents suddenly had all the time and money in the world which they used to get my youngest sister in an amazing, private high school. They gave her tons of support, and she is graduating with honors and has an offer to attend an Ivy League college. It may be childish, but I do not feel like it is fair at all. I don't hold a grudge against my sister, and I have sent her a graduation card, but the thought of sitting through a whole ceremony and hearing my parents talk about all of her accomplishments is too much. They are extremely upset about the fact that I said I won't go. I haven't talked to my sister yet, but I assume she will be upset as well. Am I the idiot? Edit. I have seen a lot of comments saying that choosing to not attend the graduation is some revenge plot against my parents. That is not it at all. I'm trying to protect my own feelings, as well as not ruin my sister's celebration by being negative or jealous. I am not good at hiding my feelings, and I'm afraid she would be able to tell. I could care less what my parents say or think. Also, my sister and I are not very close anymore. I moved out after I turned 18 and our contact has been limited. I truly don't know how she would feel about me missing the ceremony. Regardless, I will take your suggestions about taking her out for dinner separately from my parents so we can talk. Not the idiot. No one seems to be taking into account that you were the scapegoat of your family. It looks like your parents can only parent one child at a time. There's no real reason to put yourself through this. Keep living your life in peace, OP. Not the idiot. If I was in your shoes, I would go back to school to get a better job and ask your parents to pay for it like they do for your sister, and if they refuse, that would be an immediate no contact from me. You're in your right to think it's unfair, but it's never too late to go back to school for a better job/future. You're the only 24, you have all the time in the world. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.